Discussing all tonight's topics with me tonight are my brilliant panel. Joining me are broadcaster, lawyer, futurist and fantastic magician. Look at him go there. He's brought a magic trick already. Andrew Eborn and the comedian Nicholas DeSanto. Anyway, I'm joined tonight by the broadcaster, lawyer, futurist, magician and polymath Andrew Eborn.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You too. And the comedian, the controversial comedian I should say, Nicholas DeSanto. How are you both doing?
Very well. Thanks for having us on what might be very well the very last episode of the show, if a nuclear Armageddon kicks off.
There's equal chances of me getting fired or nuclear Armageddon. So yeah, let's see which one. I mean,
looks like we might as well be the target even before Putin is finished with Ukraine.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a
The
fair...
reality is this, is they're all worried. As soon as Donald Trump comes in, he's threatened to finish it all in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So what Biden's suddenly woken up and said, well, I better allow people to fire missiles much further into Russia, just to make a sort of point on that sort of principle. That's what's going to happen. It's saber-rattling. You're quite right. There's far too many Russian properties over here. I think that's a great point on that sort of principle. But they're worried as soon as Trump comes in, they're going to finish the war. So it's a negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing on that basis.
I don't see it. I mean, if Russia did want to invade Western Europe, if it wanted to invade Britain, I don't see, how are we going to rally people and get people to be patriotic when we've spent a decade, 2 decades, telling people any patriotism is evil and racist and extreme far right and all the rest of it. And now you're going to tell people to go and die for their country. A moment ago you were telling them they didn't even have a country and it should just be a borderless economic zone.
I think we should inherit some of that wonderful Trump thing about making America great again. We can make Britain great again. You work on that sort of principle. And that's the difficulty, because you're right. Everybody's had their wings clipped as a result of it. And it's tricky, isn't it, on that basis?
Yeah, and we're seeing Europe getting very tough on immigration. Just this week we saw, so Sweden has actually got net emigration. More people are leaving Sweden than are coming into it. And that's despite Sweden being a nice place. You'd think it'd be easier to do that in Britain with it not being as pleasant. And also France has criticised the UK for not doing its bit. The UK gives France, I think it's about £500 million a year to help stop cross-channel migrants. But France have turned around to the UK and said, well, it's not helping us, the fact that you're just making it a really attractive proposition. If you get into the UK, you can work and illegally, and there's very little chance you can sit back. You get a hotel.
Stay in these glorious hotels. We'll look after you. Get to the front of the benefits queue. But I think that's right. We are a glorious melting pot. We are the best country in the world, and this is why people want to come here. And we do. We make it far.
But again, you are encouraging more immigrants to come over here.
But it is.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Nicholas's idea of we need a social media campaign just showing the negative side, just show parts of Dundee. I mean, I just feel this advert, they're like, oh, we're so new. It's like, man, it would have been new maybe 50 years ago.
I mean, Elon Musk, my best mate, because Errol, his farm's on my show all the time, what he said is that, do you sell cars? Because not a single car is featured in this ad. And it's quite sad, because you remember John Prescott, the great John Prescott, died just a few days ago. And he was famously 2 Jags. You might remember, he got 2 Jags. And so he will be spinning now in his grave as a result of this advert.
Same here. But if you were to, I think they might have been, this ad agency might have been penetrated by Alfa Romeo, for example. If you look at their logo,
they have penetrated by some other stuff.
I was waiting for that line. It's like, burn and banning, eat your heart out. I love it. The reality is this: if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight, P.T. Barnum, the best showman of all. So many people are talking about this ad. It's actually owned by Tata, a huge company.
And I think people will be saying Tata to Jaguar.
This is the problem. So it's so quick for people to take offence on these sort of things, and this is the problem at the moment. And we're having about sort of hate thoughts and non-hate crimes and all that sort of stuff. It's a horrible, horrible time we're living in, where people, and then you talk about the thought police. They had Rodin's The Thinker, and next to them there's a new statue of the thought police on that sort of basis. You work on that sort of principle. We must be able to offend people. And the comedy now has been castrated as a result of it. And we've got to call it out. Enough is enough. And I have to say, I love working with him. It's great to be back with him. It's rather like if you ordered Rowan Atkinson and Will Ferrell from Temu, you get both of us, wouldn't you? And I brought little one along because I thought this is good, this is the moment. It looks fantastic. Anyway, you're right. We've got to be able to offend people. If you can't offend people, there's going to be a real problem with humour in the future.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what else he's got.
Sorry, I haven't got any props. I wasn't told by the producers we need props.
That's quite all right. I've got to say, the funniest thing I ever got told was when I was banned banned from a comedy club in Australia, and they said, this is an inclusive space, you have to leave. That's not an inclusive space. Now, I was really shocked to see it was so blatant. You know, Starmer met with Bill Gates, and now he's meeting with Larry Fink from Blackrock.
What was he thinking? Thank you. But Blackrock has got a controversy about they invest in fossil fuels, and there's a whole thing about China and human rights and stuff.
And they're behind the push for DEI with their ESG investment.
Yeah, absolutely. IHA. I hate acronyms, but you're absolutely right. You work on that sort of basis. The optics on this are completely wrong. Starmer is getting it so wrong. The drama of Starmer, the farmer harmer. You work on all of that sort of stuff. It's wrong again, and I think the media is just going to have a field day with him.
Yeah. Reverse Robin Hood, who is stealing from British farmers to give to foreign farmers.
That's insanity.
It's complete insanity.
Ed Miliband as well announced the 11.5 billion is going overseas.
It's absolute nonsense. And actually, I've been basically advocating we should abolish inheritance tax for the very reason you said. It only raises 7 billion in total for the economy. And actually, you work all your life, you pay taxes all your life, and all of a sudden, your family have to get rid of their house because they work on that sort of basis to pay it off. Farmers cannot afford. It's 20%. They're going to work on that sort of basis, over 1 million or whatever it is. Jeremy Clarkson was out saying about this sort of thing, the tractors are out in force. I don't think, as you say, Starmer has put a foot right since he's been in. If we had an election tomorrow, he's out. It is scandalous, though, and I'll tell you why it's scandalous, is that they should be absolutely out of women's safe spaces, they should be absolutely out of women's sports, and for people to basically do these intimate searches as a result is completely wrong. I don't know anybody on either side of the discussion who would want that as a principle, because who's going to turn around and say this is going to be this is going to advance our cause as a result of it?
Absolutely.
There is absolutely no reason, and we should stop it.
And these are intimate searches, and other police forces have said they won't do this. Yeah, like you say, I don't think it does the cause of just regular transgender people who just want to get about their day without having lots of heat and attention drawn on them. This is one of these things that's just going to create friction.
Of course, and I always say it's about respect for everybody in the conversation, and respect for those trans. People go through a lot of issues. A lot of people I know in our profession they do that. They go through a lot of issues. Does. Yes, absolutely. Snip, snip, Bob's your auntie. You work on that sort of principle, but the reality is there's got to be respect for everybody in the conversation. Women need safe spaces. They've got to have that. Women need sports they compete in because they're biologically they're not the same as men. And there's a reason they've got the separation. We need to stop it. And this is a step too far.
Denmark's 21-year-old Victoria Kjær-Thielvig, I've probably messed up that pronunciation.
What's her name?
Kjær-Thielvig. Well, she's Miss Universe 2024. Here she is. Take a look. Now, I believe her interests include world peace.
Of course it does.
Animals. And she's also a philosopher. When she was asked how she'd live differently if nobody would judge her, Victoria told the judges she wouldn't change anything, saying, I live by each day. This is profound stuff.
It's very good, isn't it? She's just finished her first book, colouring it in. It's great, give her another brain cell, it'd be lonely. The reality, she's wonderful. Everybody loves world peace.
She's probably a doctor.
She probably is a doctor, and it's very unfair that you would say bad things about her.
May I say...
She's probably incredibly intelligent, and we look at this. I think she's advanced it. I think people love the idea of beauty pageants, and I think all the feminists are coming together and saying, let's support this.
Yeah, well, there was a Greek philosopher who said ethics and aesthetics are the same thing.
Well, in Italian we say even the eyes want their share. Anche l'occhio vuole la sua parte. But having...
Sounds great in Italian.
Of course, everything does.
What is the Italian for that?
Anche l'occhio vuole la sua parte.
Anche what?
Anche l'occhio, even the eye, vuole, wants la sua parte, its share or its part.
Okay.
I mean, luckily, there is still some transgender representation at Miss Universe. So the Miss Universe pageant is actually owned by a Thai transgender woman.
Well, I'm quite right, too.
Well, she's doing a great job.
The change will do them good. I think the reality is exactly that. And Trump used to be involved with these sort of pageants and things as well. He did. He did. He used to own certain pageants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting interesting time now, but the answers to those questions about what do you want is always about world peace and stopping hunger and that sort of stuff. Yeah. You want people to be gloriously creative on that sort of thing.
Well, you won't want them to go out and be like, I want more hunger.
More
Absolutely. I want more war.
But this is the thing. They've got to be better questions. I think they now need to turn around. Maybe there could be a physical thing as well as a sort of an intellectual thing. And look, just as we do mind games, you know, they play chess and so on and so forth. We should do that. You should have an all-round sports person. And the fact is, Miss Universe, Elon Musk wants to send people off to Mars. Yeah. So I think that's a great idea. When we go to Mars, there's bound to be life on other planets. So I want to find that green thing with funny little horns and make sure that thing wins the next time.
Yeah, you'll probably put it in your pocket. But yeah,
it's out of my pocket. Come on.
If we made them explain the dual slit experiment or something like that.
Yes, well, that's what you want.
Your thumb goes. Anyway, now, welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. Now, did you enjoy lockdown? Did you enjoy being forced to stay inside and being forced to take a vaccine? The next thing the government might force you to do once we've got all the heat pumps and electric cars looks like it's going to be enforced veganism. Hey! A delegate at climate conference COP29 issued demands for mandatory veganism. Take a look at this.
These are our demands. We believe that COP29 and UNFCCC conferences thereafter can only be successful if the closing statement includes transitioning away from animal protein overconsumption according to national or global dietary guidelines by implementing greenhouse gas emission pricing mechanisms in agri-food systems.
We love Johnny Depp.
This ties in nicely with Starmer replacing all of our farms with Chinese-owned solar plantations. Now, what I don't understand about this, I mean, all right, I get that, you know, meat releases fossil fuels or whatever, the meat industry releases fossil fuels.
Meat releases fossil fuels?
Yeah, the meat farming releases...
You think about methane? I was going to say, they're down to the coal mines.
They don't like.
Just making it up as you go along, aren't you?
That's the thing that skinny guys like that don't like.
Carbon emissions.
Climate emissions.
Carbon emissions. Carbon emissions.
I have to say, I had the best mac and cheese I ever had was vegan, and you work on that basis. No, we should.
It's mac and cheese. It's mac and it's not even a meat product. What about a steak?
Chili non carne. They come up with they're brilliantly creative. What they call their dishes.
Chili non carne. So they've made vegan food taste like meat.
And it looks like meat.
They've done that.
Yeah.
Because meat's delicious.
It is.
You never get them taking meat and making it taste like broccoli.
And you can get a vegan burger that bleeds because it's got beetroot and that sort of stuff.
Getting vegan food and make it look like meat. They never get meat and make it look like
a vegetable.
Yeah.
They do. What's his name? Blumenthal.
Yeah, but that's some sort of weird...
But he does like an orange, and it's like a meat orange.
That's some sort of weird circus trick. It's not a realistic thing that people...
It's a good circus trick.
What I don't understand about this, like I get some...
Heston.
Meat farming releases climate emissions, whatever you want to call them, whatever makes these skinny guys cry. But upland farming, so sheep and stuff like that, that's actually the best use for the land. You can't grow rice there. It's just, you know, this is where I grew up. There's sheep on the hills. You know, we try not to bother them too much, and you know, then we eat them. And you know what else? A low protein diet. If you ever join a cult, I've never done it myself, but if you join a cult, they feed you a low protein diet.
Is that right?
It keeps you timid and complacent.
Timid and obedient.
Well, I'm on a low protein diet. I'm timid and complacent. Look at me, absolutely.
This is a man who mainlines cans of tuna. I've got to say though, Logan Paul put up a better fight than his brother Jake.
Oh, I have to say that's true. I mean, it was an extraordinary fight with Tyson, wasn't it? Work on that sort of basis. But you would think that all the stuff, you do all your research, work out all the questions you're going to do. The first thing you want to do is check that the actual person's there. Yeah. And you remember there's that great interview, this chap who turned up, who was shown to the studio very quickly, and he was completely blown away because he said, "You're the minister of what?" "Oh, no, I'm not," and he did that sort of stuff. It's one of those sort of moments, and it's a classic case, and it won't be the last.
Trump's victory in the election continues to ripple through the world with a UFC fighter celebrating with Donald's iconic dance. Take a look at this.
I also want to say a big thank you to President Donald Trump for being here tonight.
Andrew. As soon as I see somebody who's muscly, who's good at fighting, I know they're going to vote for Donald Trump. They're going to support Donald Trump. If I see somebody skinny, like that guy at COP29 and wants us to be vegans, I know they don't support Donald Trump.
I think you're probably right on that. And what Trump should have done, in the same way as you had Mo Farah and various other people, you know, Usain Bolt doing their trademark signs, he should have trademarked that because he could have made a fortune. And Trump is brilliant. You remember when they did that mugshot when he was arrested? Yeah. He turned that into a multi-million-dollar business as a result of it. Oh, you got your mouse pad? I love it.
Andrew and I should have done that dance at the top of the programme, at the video wall.
It was really weird. Well, we had Gregory Maguire, who was the original writer of it. He said it was basically supposed to be an adult movie.
Is this the song they're talking about?
Exactly. Right. So they're working on that sort of basis. So he was all over the press this sort of time. So it was quite dark, and there was all sorts of sex scenes at the beginning of the novel. And what happened? They sort of sugar-coated it. So he quite likes that and that sort of principle. But they obviously get sound bites given to them by the studios, which is why, and they get well rehearsed. So you have to work out the people behind the scenes. What are they actually telling them to say on that sort of basis?
Yeah, but I mean, this didn't seem like... I don't think they've been briefed to say all that stuff.
You don't think so?
None of it made any sense.
No, it doesn't need to make sense. This is we live in an era where you don't want things to make sense. It's the Jaguar advert, as we say. Nothing makes sense. You get people talking about it. So the publicity works on that basis.
But no, this isn't... I don't think this was planned. They were like, go out there and act as weird as possible and then grab her finger like some weird talismanic
They were
ritual.
copying nothing, including rules of semantics.
Yeah. But what I loved about it is how it's, you know, I've seen the cultural world erupt in this, you know, in this outpouring of love, and it was like, actually, no, it's just a couple of posts. It was, you know, it was pretty much nothing. Anyway, if that didn't make you cringe enough, this person protesting against the government, capitalism, war in the Middle East and their poor relationship with their father definitely will. Take a look at this.
There's people starving, children dying in this madness. And politicians funding wars with people's taxes. And they found oil, but they can't find a cure for cancer. There's profit in disaster.
Wow, I think they've probably ended war there.
I think you're probably right. And I was going to wear that outfit tonight, and I have to say, it would have clashed terribly. But
and also, where would you put all your...
where would I have my little props? Come on, I'm so proud of this one. This is so good, isn't it? You're working on that sort of basis. No, it is extraordinary. That where they managed to find all these people is great, because it's perfect fodder. We would not be able to do the wonderful show on a Saturday without these people, so thank you. Keep coming.
Yeah.
And you're right, I mean, talking about offending, I mean, you raised some really important points about these non-hate crimes and that sort of stuff. The reality is that you're picking is this two-tier system and calling somebody a fish or whatever, or you smell like a fish. And extraordinary stuff.
Well, I've better just explain to the people listening or watching at home. So these non-crime hate incidents, so the journalist Alison Pearson brought these into the spotlight again because she was threatened with one. The police hand out thousands of these every year, and some of them have been given to people for ridiculous ideas. Somebody got issued with a non-crime hate incident because they didn't shake hands with someone. Some school kids have been done with them. Like you said, a school kid said one of their classmates smelled like fish.
And this is not the place to do that, absolutely. They did. And they did smell like a fish.
And these things are serious.
Calling somebody a Leonard, a Leo, because that's offensive and so on and so forth. An aggressive haircut. There was. Somebody was given an aggressive haircut. And they worked on that sort of basis. There has to be, under the law, there has to be a serious risk of escalation. And what's happened, there's been thousands of these crazy complaints, and the police have been investigating these as opposed to getting on with real crimes. So Alison Pearson, who went through a horrible time on Remembrance Sunday, they basically came along, they didn't tell her what the particular tweet was from about a year ago, and they said this particular stuff, and her life was actually tormented as a result of it.
And there's also, you know, I'm concerned that these non-crime hate incidents are being used to target opposition politicians or critics of the government. So I know of a couple of Conservative politicians. There's Murdo Fraser in Scotland, there's David T.C. Davies in Wales, who've been issued with non-crime hate incidents, and it's almost this sort of Stalinist way of policing speech, because even though, you know, obviously, you know, any case against Alice has been thrown out of court because it's ridiculous. Even though it gets thrown out of court, the process is the punishment.
And absolutely, and she was absolutely traumatised. It brought on an asthma attack. If you read her different tweets and so on and so forth, and they couldn't even tell her which one it was.
Well, the good news is...
Well, sorry. Sorry.
Well, the good news is robots might be taking over the world and they'll kill us all, so we won't need to worry about non-crime hate incidents anymore. I mean, should we be worried about nukes? These robots look more dangerous. Footage this week shows how alarmingly sophisticated robots have become.
Yes.
Here's a humanoid robot running in a race.
Oh, very
Here
convincing. Which one?
It's
the one in the red T-shirt. I can tell.
I mean, the way it's running, I mean, all right, it's got that sort of Joe Biden shuffle, but it's doing a pretty good job.
It's phenomenal.
And then we've got this next one. It's a remarkably agile all-terrain robot. You see it coming down a hill here. That's
very good, isn't it?
It's got wheels. It's got legs.
Oh, look at that!
It can flip between the wheels or sort of walk like a humanoid. There it is doing a backflip as well. I mean, it's also got that sort of serving tray on the top, so you could bring.
I mean,
a pint
we
of beer.
need these to defend us against Russia, if need be. Given that we've become a nation of bickering, bitter crybabies with non-crime hate incidents raised over and over again. So, tying it nicely with the previous.
I mean, the Ukraine war is really pushing forward drone technology. Not just, I mean, we know a lot about the drones that go in the sky and are used to blow up tanks or used for reconnaissance or whatever, but these ground drones.
Oh no, the war. That's what's going to happen. They're going to be used in battle and that sort of stuff. Elon Musk, he did this We Robot event where they did these the self-driving taxis and the vans, but also showed off the robots.
Right.
And he was sued by the person who created iRobot. No, exactly. But I spoke to Errol.
But you sued them for real.
Oh, well, exactly. But I spoke to Errol Musk about this, as I say, and he said, "Well, what are you going to make a robot look like? That's going to have a head and two arms and two legs and that sort of basis." No, the future is absolutely about robotics.
Yeah.
And you look at that sort of basis, what they're doing there is just the start. Every home's going to have one. And companionship, it's one of the biggest things of all. People get very lonely and so on and so forth. Having a robot companion is going to be the future.
But again,
when you say companion, this is like a robot that they can actually,
They communicate with, absolutely.
Oh, I was going to say something else.
They can. You can do that as well if you want to.
If you want, well, I do want to.
But again, speaking of the defense area, with all due respect for people who need companions, but given that 14 years of conservative government has shrunk the British Army into the smallest in Western Europe, we need robots to defend ourselves.
See you on the Saturday Night Showdown next week, and stay tuned for Headliners tonight at 11 p.m. and Mark Dolan coming up next. See you next week. Okay, bye. Sorry to...
It was all fact.